Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome to our Dark Angels faction reveal video. I'm very excited to see what the Dark Angels are bringing to a Warpforge near you very soon, and how these vehicles operate, how the mechanics operate. So we'll go over the mechanics first, we'll get into the cards that we're looking at today, and we'll just see how powerful and how interesting I think this faction may in fact be. So let's get into it. You've got mechanics, quest progression, and secrets. A lot going on here, but baseline, you're going to accumulate points on certain cards. We'll look at a few today. Every 3 points, you get a very powerful secret added to your deck. There are 5 random secrets. So you're not going to fatigue as easily in this faction, right? Because you're going to have extra cards in your deck. These cards are fairly powerful from what we saw. BJ was able to reveal one that is a Rapacious Hunger, but for 2 energy instead of 6 energy, so obviously going to have a huge impact. And I think the question is, how are you going to draw them? How are you going to reliably make use of the powerful spells that you're getting to put in your deck? And so that's kind of an interesting thing to be pondering while we look at some of these previews today. Slay is basically a narrower version of Strike, right? So it does something after attacking and destroying an enemy. The attacker needs to survive the attack in order to trigger Slay. So we're going to be looking at some flankers. Very good to kind of note that if they do have Slay, and I believe one of them does, that may be a nice little bonus to that card, because if it takes care of a small little attacker in the early game, it's not going to be hard to trigger Slay on a decently statted flank unit, and then you'll get that bonus. Agenda, say very similar to Duty in the sense that you use the effect, it happens, except you can continuously use the effect every turn, right? Whereas Duty is restricted to 1 activation. So again, that's really how you think of it. So when something is paired with having Agenda and Flank or Fast, you're going to be able to use that right away. And we know how powerful praying and flanking can be, so Agenda, I think, is going to operate similarly. Same with Duty. So let's get into the cards. Okay, first things first, we've got the Landspeeder Vengeance. We're going to be looking at quite a few vehicles today. It's 4 energy, 1/5 on the attack stats, and 4 health. It's got flying, and that's why it's got that weighted ranged attack. And it's got rally. If you control no other troops, gain flank. I think most of these cards, thinking about even the recent Blade Guard veteran, where it gets extra armor if there are no other troops on the board, this rally effect tends to work very smoothly. It's not easy to stick units in this game, as we all know, and so there's not really an issue with playing this card and not having any troops on the board to get the effect. Obviously, in the late game, if you're already kind of winning, then you might not even need the flank. But I think Landspeeder Vengeance coming in at 4 energy as a pretty hefty unit clearer, with 5 ranged attack for 4, is a nice little tool for keeping the board clear and maybe going on your quests and getting your secrets going. So I just imagine cards with flank, particularly in this faction, to keep you on pace with your opponent while you're accumulating this advantage through quests, is going to be something that you want. So I think the Landspeeder Vengeance will probably serve a pretty decent role within the faction. So let's keep it moving. All right, we've got the Tech Marine, and this is going to be relevant to all the vehicles we look at today. 4 energy, 4/5 on the attack stats. Just very good stat line. It's going to hurt to kind of get rid of this, and having the 5 health means that it might stick to the board for a turn. When a friendly vehicle attacks, gain 1 quest point. If it survives, heal 3 to it. So also in the late game, I think of sort of like Antaro Cronus, right? You can pair play the Tech Marine, play a flanking vehicle at the same time. It's pretty powerful, right? Because you'll get that upfront quest point off of just attacking with a vehicle. Imagine you've got 1 or 2 vehicles already on the board and you drop this bad boy. Not only are you going to get that quest advantage, but then they're also going to heal 3 after they're attacking. Heal is definitely less powerful than getting health up front, but this pairs well in the sense that you want to be attacking to get the advantage, and then if they happen to live through the attack, maybe you're just attacking the Warlord so you can get extra advantage, then they're going to heal 3, which is a pretty massive heal. So I think Tech Marine is just going to be, I imagine, a staple 4-drop for any decks that are employing some of the vehicles we're looking at today, especially with a lot of the flanking vehicles that we're going to get into. So I think Tech Marine is definitely going to be, again, another pretty solid role player. So let's see what else we got. Ravenwing Bikes. 2 energy, 2/1 on the attack stats, 3 health. So this is going to be coming in pretty early. And it's got flank, and it's got agenda, gain a quest point. So what's really nice about this vehicle, right, and being a cheap flanker, is maybe you do nab like a cheap enemy unit that's not so good with the flank ability in either trade, or maybe you get to have this stick around a little bit. But what's nice is it has agenda, get a quest point. So if there's truly nothing to do on the board and you want to be just accumulating those quest points, you can just plop this down for 2 energy, which is very cheap, and just get a quest point. And I imagine throughout this faction, with all this incidental questing, that paying 2 energy to get a guaranteed quest but also have a flanker is just a pretty decent rate. So I think Ravenwing Bikes, again, another example, paired with Tech Marine, you're going to get another quest point if you're able to get that valid attack. So I think that Ravenwing Bikes is just going to be a nice little, sort of Arcoflagellant-esque, obviously not as powerful, I would say, but can offer, what the faction wants in terms of quest points and interacting with the board. Let's keep it moving. Black Knight, got 3 energy, 2/4 on the attack stats, flank again, and this is our first instance of Slay. Gain 1 quest point. So 3 energy for a 2/4/3. So it's punching above, its weight with the ranged attack. And so if you're able to kill something and let this live, then you're going to get that quest point. Probably a lot of the times you're playing this just to straight up trade, right? So it's going to help you really clear potentially, 5 and 6 health units between this and your Warlord, which is pretty nice thing for an early game flank unit. But in the small edge cases where you are able to get the Slay to go off, I'm sure you're going to want that. I'm sure, just again, having this kind of incidental questing value on these flankers is going to be nice. And if this is able to, kill something and then get healed by your Tech Marine, you're kind of living the dream, because then you've gotten 2 quest points and your Black Knight is full health after attacking. So that's a nifty little combo there. Let's see what else we got. Ravenwing Champion. And again, just charging in on all these incredible vehicles. So 3 energy, 4/3/3. So very aggressive stat line here, just hitting pretty hard. It's got rally, gain 1 quest point, and when you create a secret, deal 3 damage to a random enemy. So let's say on one of the Warlords that BJ got to reveal, you're able to do a quest point on your first turn, and then use the ability to get a second quest point. Then maybe you play Ravenwing on your second turn, I think with 3 energy. You'll get that 3rd quest point off of him, even though you can use your Warlord ability too, and then deal 3 damage to a random enemy. 3 is nice. I mean, if this thing is basically trading off 6 damage for 3 energy and it's getting you a quest point, that floor seems pretty reasonable. I mean, this thing's not going to stick around. It's going to die pretty instantly. But the other thing is, if you set this card up later, because it's only 3 energy, I can imagine board states where you're going to be able to trigger potentially at least a secret in a turn after using some of these units, and then you play this and get that sort of bonus to maybe take out a unit or kind of burn down the enemy Warlord. So this does feel a little bit more aggressive, but it also can help maybe control the board. It is random. But I think Ravenwing Champion definitely has some applications, so especially with all of the questing that's going on. See what else we got. Last but not least, Deadly Hunters. I just love this art. And I was actually picking the art for the video, just kind of looking around. I actually didn't know that it was the same one, which is very funny. So 7 energy, deploy 1 Black Knight for each enemy unit. So the Black Knight I have up here again that we reviewed earlier. It's hard to tell the power level of this card. Obviously, having multiple Black Knights could be great. You could even get multiple Slay triggers. But again, I guess this is a card that's pretty good when you're far behind. I think that is the design intention here. So if you can get 2 or 3 of the Black Knights to kind of clean up the board and put you back to a decent board state, that could be pretty good. 7 energy is a lot, right? And think of some of the other cards, the 6 energy card that the Ultramarines have that get the Intercessors with flank on the board, which is like pretty medium. Obviously, Black Knights are noticeably stronger than that. So yeah, is it going to be worth a slot? We'll see. I think this is more of a control tool, and it is conditional depending on how your opponent is applying pressure on the board. But Deadly Hunters should have a pretty strong impact when you're behind, which is generally good. And when you're ahead, then it's something where maybe when the board state is a little more precarious, you can start employing. Alright folks, that's what I have for you today for the Dark Angels faction reveals. I'm sure there will be more reveals coming out after my video and definitely before my video, so definitely feel free to check those out. Feel free to leave some support for the video, but please let me know what you think of all the stuff in the comments, and I will be seeing you on Warpforge with the Dark Angels very, very soon. And I'll catch you in the next one.